Mom's words hit me like a slap I never saw coming. You're nothing but a burden. For a moment I couldn't breathe. It felt like the floor moved under my feet, like everything inside me cracked at once. I had heard hurtful things before, but never this. Never from her. Her voice kept echoing in my head over and over like it wanted to stay there forever. I stood there frozen, trying to understand what I had done so wrong. Why was I always the one blamed? Why was I always the one made to feel small? Before I could even gather myself, I saw my sister standing by the door. Arms crossed. A tiny smile on her face. Not a smile of comfort, but satisfaction. She walked closer and whispered, "That's nothing. You should hear what she says about you when you're not around. You were never wanted here. Not by her. Not by any of us." Those words didn't cut me, they crushed me. They made my chest heavy, my eyes burn, my whole world blur. This was the moment I realized something painful and unforgettable. Sometimes the people who should love you the most hurt you the deepest. From the outside, my family looked perfect. People would often say things like, "You're so lucky," or "Your home must be so peaceful." And I would just smile because it was easier than telling the truth. To others, we seemed like a loving, supportive family. A mother who cared, a sister who was always confident, and me, the quiet one who stayed in the background. Friends thought we were close, always together, always happy. But they never saw what happened once the doors closed. Inside our house, love felt more like a competition. Everything was compared: grades, looks, talents, even moods. My sister was the star, the perfect one, the child who could do no wrong. Me. I was the quiet kid, the one who tried to keep the peace, the one who rarely spoke back. Maybe that's why it was so easy for them to target me. Favoritism ruled every conversation. Emotional manipulation hid behind sweet tones and forced smiles. And every time I tried to stand up for myself, I was told I was too sensitive or overreacting. People thought we were a happy family. But in reality, I felt more alone inside that house than anywhere else. Growing up, Mom never screamed at me the way some parents did. Her anger was quieter, but somehow sharper. She used small sentences that sounded harmless to other people, but they stayed with me for years. She would say things like, "Why can't you be more like your sister?" Or, "You always make things harder." And every time, a tiny part of me would shrink a little more. She called it tough love. But it didn't feel like love at all. It felt like being measured every single day, and never fitting the scale. My sister, on the other hand, didn't have to try. She got average grades. Mom celebrated. If I got good grades, she said, "You could have done better." Nothing I did ever seemed enough, no matter how hard I pushed myself. I learned to stay quiet, to avoid doing anything that might trigger a remark or a sigh. I tried to make myself useful, invisible, perfect. Anything that might earn me a moment of warmth. But the truth was simple. Mom didn't see me the way she saw my sister. And the more I tried to win her approval, the more invisible I felt in my own home. The day everything exploded started like any other. I was tired, more tired than usual. Between studying, working 2 part-time jobs, and helping around the house, my body felt like it was running on fumes. But I still tried to keep everything together because that's what I always did. That morning I forgot one simple thing: taking out the trash. A small, ordinary chore. But in my house, small mistakes became big crimes. Mom walked into the kitchen, saw the trash still there, and something inside her snapped. She didn't ask why. She didn't pause. She just let everything out at once. Her voice was louder than I had ever heard. "Why can't you do anything right? You make more problems than you solve." I tried to explain, but she didn't let me. Her words kept coming faster and sharper. Then she said it, the sentence that broke whatever was left inside me. "You're nothing but a burden." The room went silent after that. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. It felt like all the years of pressure, blame, and disappointment had finally crashed on top of me. And standing in the doorway was my sister, watching it all like it was a show made just for her. After Mom stormed out of the kitchen, the silence felt heavier than her shouting. I stood there, staring at the floor, trying to stop my hands from shaking. I thought the worst part was over. But I was wrong. My sister stayed behind. I could feel her eyes on me before I even looked up. She wasn't shocked. She wasn't sad. She looked almost pleased. She walked toward me slowly, like she had been waiting for this moment. When she got close enough, she leaned in and whispered, "You think Mom was harsh? That was nothing. She's been tired of you for years. Honestly, we all have. You're just extra." Her voice was calm, but her words were cruel. They cut deeper because they sounded rehearsed, like she had thought them many times before. I stared at her, hoping it was a joke, a moment of anger, anything. But she just smirked, like hurting me was something she enjoyed. Then she added, almost casually, "You should be grateful we even let you stay here." That was the moment everything inside me collapsed. It wasn't just Mom's anger anymore. It was the terrible truth that my own sister, someone I grew up with, felt nothing for me except resentment. And after my sister's words, something inside me went silent. Not angry. Not numb. Just done. I walked to my room in slow, careful steps, like any sudden movement might make me fall apart. I closed the door quietly, sat on the edge of my bed and let the truth sink in. I didn't belong there. Not in that house. Not with those people. Not in a place where love felt like a privilege I never earned. I packed a small bag, just enough clothes, a few important papers and the little bit of money I had saved. No big suitcase. No dramatic goodbye. Just the things I needed to survive. Every sound in the house felt louder. The ticking clock, the distant TV, my own heartbeat. But no one came to check on me. No one asked if I was okay. They didn't even notice my door was still closed. Before sunrise, I opened the front door. The air was cold, but it felt cleaner than anything inside that house. I took one last look behind me, not with regret but with clarity. I wasn't running away. I was escaping. And the saddest part? Not a single person in that house tried to stop me. Somehow. That hurt far more. Stepping outside felt strange. The world was quiet, and for the first time in my life so was my mind. No criticism. No comparisons. No voices telling me I wasn't enough. But freedom didn't feel beautiful at first. It felt lonely. I found a tiny room to rent, barely big enough for a bed and a small table. The walls were thin, the window cracked, and the rent took most of my savings. But it was mine. A space where no one sighed in disappointment when I walked in. Those first nights were the hardest. I cried quietly, wondering if I had made a mistake. I worried about money, about school, about how I would survive without a family to fall back on. But deep down I knew staying would have broken me even more. Slowly I learned to live on my own. I cooked cheap meals, worked extra shifts, and studied late into the night. I learned how strong I could be when I wasn't trying to please anyone. And even though my life was difficult, one thing gave me hope. For the first time ever, I wasn't scared of going home. Because home now was wherever I chose to build it. Life didn't change overnight. But slowly, quietly, things started to shift. The extra hours I worked turned into experience. The late nights studying paid off. I began to notice that when I wasn't constantly being judged or compared, I could actually breathe. And grow. One day my manager pulled me aside and offered me a better position. More hours, better pay, and a chance to learn new skills. For the first time someone saw potential in me, not flaws. Then came the scholarship. I applied with zero confidence, thinking nothing would come of it. But when the acceptance email arrived, I stared at it in disbelief. Me. The burden. The extra child. Chosen. With steady income and support from the scholarship, I moved into a better apartment. I bought a real desk, real plates, things that made my space feel like a fresh beginning. I made friends who valued me, people who listened, people who asked how I was without expecting anything in return. And with every step forward, I realized something important. I wasn't broken. I had just been living in a place that never wanted to see me whole. The success I was building wasn't luck. Years passed, and life outside that house had taught me strength, patience, and self-worth. I had built a life that wasn't defined by criticism or comparison. And yet, the past has a way of catching up with people. One day, I received a call from my mother. Her voice was softer than I remembered. "Can you help us?" she asked. The words sounded strange coming from the person who once called me a burden. I learned that my sister had made choices that left her struggling financially. Mom was exhausted emotionally and physically. Suddenly, the house that once ignored me was reaching out, seeking me, the very child they had dismissed. Part of me felt anger. Part of me felt disbelief. How could they need me now after all the years of neglect? I thought about the countless times I had been hurt, the nights I cried alone, the dreams I buried to survive in their home. But I also felt calm. I could choose now. I could help, but on my terms. I didn't owe them blind obedience or forgiveness. They needed me, yes. But I didn't need them anymore. And for the first time I was the one in control of how much or how little I would give. As the version of me they never allowed to exist. When I finally returned home, the house felt smaller than I remembered. Everything looked the same, yet nothing felt the same inside me. I had spent years learning my worth, and now I was ready to speak. I found Mom in the living room looking tired and fragile. My sister was nearby, avoiding my gaze. For a moment I let myself remember the years of pain, the shouting, the whispers, the endless comparisons. Then I took a deep breath. "Do you know how much your words hurt me?" I asked. Mom tried to interrupt, but I held up my hand. "I'm not a burden. I was never a burden." I stayed silent. "I tried to please you, I tried to be enough. But your love was never mine to earn." I looked at my sister. "You laughed when I was broken. You whispered that I was extra. Do you understand what that did to me? Do you understand what it feels like to be unwanted by your own family?" The room was silent. No one spoke. I realized I didn't need an apology and I didn't need validation. I only needed to finally say it aloud, to claim my truth. And in that moment I felt free. After the confrontation the house felt different, but not because anything had changed. Mom was still the same woman who had called me a burden. My sister was still the same person who had whispered cruel words into my ear years ago. But I had changed. I was no longer the child who needed their approval or feared their anger. I was the adult who had learned to protect her own heart. I realized that forgiveness didn't have to mean forgetting. Helping my family didn't mean giving up my freedom. I could choose peace without letting them control me. I could care for them in a way that didn't hurt me, on my terms. So I made a decision. I would help when I could, but I would not let myself be used. I would set boundaries that were firm, clear, and unbreakable. No more staying silent when I felt pain. No more shrinking myself to fit their expectations. No more allowing anyone, even my own blood, to make me feel small. For the first time I truly understood what it meant to live for myself. I could check in, offer support, even show kindness, but I would not let the past define my future. I would not let my worth be dictated by those who once refused to see it. And with that choice came an unexpected relief. It was quiet, subtle, but powerful. I didn't need to prove anything to anyone anymore. I had survived, I had grown, and I had learned that sometimes the best love is the love you give yourself. For the first time I felt truly free. And nothing could take that away.